attendees are joining us, and I will share my screen to get us started. Maybe we can start the poll as well. How do I do that?
It's beautiful. I can recognize some familiar names from all around the world, actually. So some late night attendees as well. Good evening
Nice.
for you.
Welcome, everyone. We're here to talk about this ISO 19650 assessor role. And the world needs more ISO 19650 assessors. Well, that's continuing to be more and more true around the world in lots of different places. And that's a great thing that we see. And hence the partnership that we've established with Simply Certification and the webinar today to introduce what the opportunity might be for you guys. The agenda, we'll talk about ISO 19650, the opportunity. We'll talk about then how assessors are onboarded and what that really rigorous process is. But then we'll introduce the concept of a gap analysis, which really helps to have assessors starting with a smaller step and also companies understanding what their gaps are. And we'll talk about how you can register your interest, and we'll finish with some questions and hopefully some good answers. So standards, they play a crucial role in our industry, and it's all about efficiency and standardization so that people can have that consistency across projects. ISO 19650, hopefully you're all very aware of what that is, but for the new people that are on the call, it's a framework. It helps standardize things. It helps efficient collaboration, that information exchanges occur on projects, and it starts to standardize that so that you can be more efficient in your workflows. And then it's an international standard recognized globally, starting to be adopted in nearly every country around the world. And that continues to improve. When we first got started with ISO 19650, it was quite a headache. And this workflow summary helps to really iron out that and make it a little bit more simplified. If we were to boil it down into 3 steps and say that the first one is understanding the exchange information requirements, the second was actually detailing out what has to happen, when, by whom, and how they're going to be fulfilled. And the third part is managing the project and learning from it. We've boiled that down into a diagram. I'm sure that Akash can put that link in the chat. But that's at the most simple level, what ISO 19650 can be. We also created a tool to help, loaded with templates that range from the OIR through to the BEP and a whole load of other acronyms. It enables you to create documents with one click that are powered by smart fields that make it super easy. We also have a scoping tool to enable you to create a scope that follows level of information need and goes down to the information requirements and understands what the tasks are, what the responsibilities are, what the rules are, and then the verification of the deliverable in an automated way so that you can start to see whether your deliverables are meeting or not meeting the requirements that have been set. Maybe in this example was for an asset information handover, asset information model, and confirming that through payments and making the documentation and file management a lot more simple, following ISO 19650 naming conventions and so on and so forth. But we're not here to talk about software, even though we like talking about software. We're talking about the efficiencies and the opportunity in ISO 19650. So you can gain a massive amount of efficiency, you can mitigate risks and really have alignment and get more credibility in the industry. Not so easy though. You have to evaluate where you are. You have to have training. You have to understand your processes and align your processes. And you also have to have continuous monitoring to make sure that you are fulfilling those objectives and gaining the efficiencies that you set out to try and achieve. So that's where ISO 19650 certification comes in. And that's why it's really important to be able to prove that you're doing this, not just having a mere checkbox though, and trying not to implement ISO 19650 as a way to just win projects like a whole bunch of teams were doing when BIM first came out and spinning a 3D model around on the screen. It's not just about having the checkbox. It's more than just winning work. It's really much more about the efficiencies that you can gain, because otherwise, if you don't implement it correctly, you'll end up doing the same thing time and time again, failing, and unfortunately not learning from that work. That's why we are partnering with certification bodies that are aligned with this thought process. And at Plannerly, we were really pleasantly surprised when we had an ISO certification body that came to us and said, whenever we audit a customer that is using Plannerly, it's so easy. They said it's a dream to audit teams that are using Plannerly. So we said, well, let's try and make something of this and start to make it much easier for teams to follow and be compliant and show that they're compliant. And hence why this relationship came about. And let me introduce Alex from Simply Certification to share a little bit more. I'm going to stop sharing and leave that screen all for you.
So Simply Certification, who we are, we launched in 2020. Our kind of key point of difference is that we want to be the certification body that totally broke the mold of what was out there at the moment. Core values around being friendly, supportive, offering a pleasant assessment experience. I think a lot of companies, whenever they go for any sort of third-party certification, they actually have that fear factor of an assessor coming along and trying to police what they do. And we flip that on its head quite a lot. And our kind of stance is that we are, the critical friend of our companies that we work with. So we offer a range of accredited certification across that built environment life cycle. So you can see there from the graphic, from pre-construction design all the way through to end of use and demolition. So we are a UCAS accredited certification body. We're based in the UK, in the northeast. I'm not sure anybody can kind of detect my Geordie accent. We have 52 assessors across a range of schemes. So our assessors are, predominantly, there's a high proportion are in the UK, but we are starting to grow across the globe at the moment. We pride ourselves on excellent customer service. We really feel that somebody embarking on the certification experience, particularly for the first time, it can be quite daunting and off-putting, overwhelming. But our team are trained to, really embrace our clients from the start, help them through the kind of, so they understand what that process is, without kind of slipping over into the realms of consultancy, which we have to be very careful of as a UCAS accredited body. So the opportunity we want to talk about today is more around growing our assessment base, reaching out to those in the field that understand BIM, having interest in adding more value to their own organisations in terms of adding more revenue streams to kind of give an offering around ISO certification, and learning a little bit more about that. I mean, what we do know that there is absolutely a growing need to meet the ISO 19650 standard. So that involves, putting in the processes, meeting the standard, but going one step further is actually proving that you meet the standard through that third-party certification and assessment, which is what we do as a business. The need for that is growing significantly. So contracts are mandated now that you do need to prove that you are ISO 19650 compliant through having that third-party assessment. There are a limited number of certification bodies across the globe that offer this. We are UCAS accredited already for other schemes, and we're growing our scope to include ISO 19650 Part 2 to offer that as a certification offering. What this means is that anybody that operates in that field and understands and has a good interest in perhaps a consulting, training, or some sort of BIM manager already, there's an opportunity there for you to be able to offer assessment as additional service. You can become part of a growing organisation as an associate, and the partnership programme that we've got a very strong team here, back end office that kind of is already put in place. So instead of having to start off, the certification industry is very difficult to get into. We've already kind of got that infrastructure in place. So if it's something that people are interested in developing themselves, it's almost like that partnership license agreement that we've got. So you can operate straight away as a small certification body entity in your own right, but under the Simply Certification band and under our scheme. So how it actually works, if you're interested, we've got an email address at the end of it to register interest. We'll carry out a one-to-one Teams call with you to kind of get to know us a little bit better and to understand what that process would be. There is then an onboarding process to do that. I'm going to pass over to Lindsay now. She is our compliance and operations manager, and she deals with the onboard and the compliance around all of our 52 assessors we've got at the moment, and that team's growing rapidly. So she is just going to go through that process with you now.
Hi everyone, my name's Lindsay. As Alex said, I'm the operations and compliance manager. My role is to support you guys in succeeding in being really great assessors. We do that, is by providing you with a range of materials such as awareness courses in BIM, assessing training courses. We offer you shadowing, so you can shadow our competent assessors. We give you simply email addresses. You can have one-to-ones with myself or the team to talk about anything really, questions that you've got, any feedback on making the assessment process any better. Just a big wide range of support there for you to help you do the best that you can do. There is a boring bit, as always, in these types of things. There's a little bit of an application process. I'll keep you on track throughout that. You fill in an application form, you answer some competency questions and have an interview, and then we carry out an observation. Once all of those steps are complete, you're ready and on board as an assessor. Now, we do have one of our assessors on the call today called Mew. He's going to give you a little bit of information about the support that he can give you with regards to shadowing and his experience so far doing assessments for Simply.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you are. My name is Murilo Piazzi. I am an information manager for over 30 projects here in the UK, but also an assessor for Simply Cert. Almost like a unicorn, really. You don't see many assessors for ISO 9650 in the world, and I am one of them, very fortunate to be one of them. Regarding my experience with the standard and with the assessment of companies on this against this standard, I was invited to join Simply Cert as an assessor. And as Lindsay explained, I went through a process of onboarding. So I did the training. I had previous knowledge on this standard, which is important to know how the standard works and is implemented on actual projects. And then I started to do some gap analysis, which is, the first step for you to really understand how the assessments work. After doing a few gap analysis and the guys had simply checked my work and could see that everything was okay, I started to do the actual official assessments. Okay, so stage 1 and stage 2 assessments, which are the assessments that really give certification. So far has been great. I have been assessing companies here in the UK, but across Europe and a few companies. Now we have a company applying in the US as well. So it's really interesting. A lot of different people, a lot of different companies. And I think we're going to open some space for questions at the end as well. So if you want to ask any questions about my experience, feel free. Also, I don't know if we're going to give the guys emails at the end, but also feel free to drop me an email or find me on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thanks, Mia. Once you become onboarded as an assessor, that means that you can carry out assessments under UCAS credit scheme. Obviously, that does take a little while. It isn't a short process. We have to be very robust, and obviously there's diaries, there's shadowing, etc. But to get you up and running straight away, we do have a gap analysis offering. What I mean by that, basically, there's a lot of organisations that come to us that want to embark on the ISO 19650 certification process, but they're never sure where to start. So that can be a little bit daunting, a little bit off-putting. They might go away 6 months, come back, try and think about it again. And then when you start talking about it to them again, go off again and try and work out where to start. So we've come up with a solution, which is online. It's a remote assessment, a one-day assessment. And that allows the client organisation to kind of draw a line in the sand as to where they are now in terms of being aligned to the standard. So it basically pinpoints exactly what areas are missing within their organisation against that before they actually embark on the certification assessment under the UCAS scheme. What this allows them to do is actually speed up that process. As you can imagine, if there's so much going on in an organisation day to day, and then, I think like everybody, if you're unsure where to start, it's that priority keeps on getting pushed down to the bottom of the pile. What a gap analysis does, it gives them that 1 day of time with an assessor, and then that allows them to go through all the clauses, the output being a nice, simple, straightforward report at the end of the day, and that gives that client the absolute direction of to what they need to do next. So it really speeds up that process. What happens is we will give you access straight away, depending on how confident you feel. We'll have that Teams call. We'll give you access to our gap analysis tool. The gap analysis tool has been built to absolutely guide you through that assessment experience, clause by clause, so it gives you information around what evidence you'd be looking for when you're going through that. So it really kind of gives you absolute clarity of what to do from one clause to the next, and what sort of evidence that you should be looking for. The remote assessment, again, it's remote. It can last anything, depending on how kind of complex the organisation is, but in most cases, it should only even last about 1 day, 3 to 6 hours of the time of the clients, with a little bit kind of tidying up at the end of it before you actually send that report off. But the idea is that you build the report and create the report as you go online with the customer. Once you completed the session, you can send the client the report direct. You just save it as a PDF. It goes out to the client. It's a traffic light system, clause by clause, tells them how near ready they are to align them with the standard. It points out anywhere any non-conformances are against that, so they can actually put those right. More importantly, what it helps to do, it actually builds that pipeline for the next step of certification. The benefits of this gap analysis to you, it is a great way to kick off your ISO 19650 assessor journey. It means that you're not waiting around to go through all the complex onboarding experience that's required to operate under a UCAS scheme. It means that you can generate revenue very quickly for your organisation. And it also, as I said, builds up that pipeline ready for organisations that want to be certified at a later date, and helps speed that up so they know where to start. So I think I'm trying to keep to the timelines. I know we've got 8 minutes left.
To kind of summarise the message that we're trying to convey, Plannerly has been trying to support ISO 19650 since inception, really, even before the standard. And it was like, how do we do things in a more simple but standardized way? Everyone does this today. It's not rocket science, but when you read the standard, it can be confusing. So we're trying to simplify that side of it. And then there's a confusion in the market about who's really doing this. And that's where our partnerships, and I should mention as well, this, especially when it comes to certification, there's no exclusivity. We're partnering with organizations that help teams to make sure that they're complying with this workflow, and they can show that. But even that workflow is difficult, challenging. It takes two sides. It's not just the company that's implementing, where there is a need for more assessors in order to be able to assess those companies that are implementing. And in order to get started, probably the easiest way is that gap analysis, which is something that they can get started with without having to have completed all of the UCAS onboarding. And it's something that then can lead into them working with clients to get UCAS certification, so UCAS accredited ISO 19650 certification. So that was my long-winded kind of trying to summarize it. Anything to add?
I love the pigs falling off the sofa repeatedly. So operating to that standard does help identify areas for improvement. Being certified by an external assessor outside the client organisation brings another benefit because it's that third eye, that third party, that critical friend that can highlight areas for improvement. So that in itself adds huge value, and clients are actually seeing that more and more, that it's not just about a certificate. The third part is actually certification. That's UCAS accredited, adds more clout to the assessment experience, because us ourselves have to go through rigorous audits of UCAS regularly, which promotes us to be, following schemes as we should, making sure, we're going to, offer the most kind of robust assessment, and that's really important to UCAS, but we're actually doing it in a way that's, not frightening as well for the client. Those three things in themselves all bring a benefit. So operating under a standard, being certified, and then being from a third party, but then having UCAS accredited certification has three massive benefits. So it's so important that we kind of grow our resource and looking for, talented individuals that want to operate within an organisation like this. And that's why we're here today.
I love the statement that you use, and every time you say it, I'm like, the critical friend. I like that concept of, nobody loves an audit. Nobody loves going through, all of this rigorous process to understand them and kind of pointing into their processes and understanding. But if it's the critical friend approach, then yeah, I could see that would be more welcoming than if it was just somebody coming with a stick and beating you over the head. The question I want to ask for the audience is, who's this for? So who's getting certified? Is it an individual? Is it a company? Is that company an appointing party? Is it somebody as part of the supply chain? Can you share a little bit more about who is the person that's getting audited, or the entity?
Yeah, so the ISO 19650 certification is organisational certification. So the organisation that gets certified, not an individual. There's a lot of confusion around that. To be able to operate and be a consultant. It's more training that's required. And there's other providers that offer training for that, so you can be certified and demonstrate that you understand 19650. But it is organisational level, and it covers the three parties: the appointing party, appointed party, and the lead appointed party. So it covers all three. So there's the clauses of the standard are more high priority to depend on what party you are than others. And again, the gap analysis would give you guidance on that as well.
When you talk about it being all three of the different roles inside of the hierarchy, let's say, is it evaluating the company and their processes? Is it evaluating them on projects? Is it both? Can you share a bit more about that?
So the way, I mean, Lindsay's probably better off equipped to tell you about the scheme, but it's in two stages. The assessment's carried out as a stage one, which is what we call a head office assessment or a documentation assessment, and that looks at your processes, the systems that you're using, etc. And the second stage is actually project based, so looking at a live environment and actually assessing you. So you're actually not just saying we have all these processes and procedures and lovely systems. You're actually using them.
Right.
Did you say that's right, Lindsay? Sorry.
Yeah, 100%. Stage one, do you meet the standard? Have you got everything in place? Stage two, have you implemented those procedures? Are you using them? What evidence have you got to show us to prove that?
I'm sharing the results of the poll. There were two questions. I'm trying to only see one of them for some reason. How do I see the other question? I don't know. Oh, it's in a list. I should scroll. Okay, so you should be able to see we have quite a few Jedi, but so 9% of the audience were Jedis. 31% have a deep implementation and understanding and implementing in projects. 22% have a deep understanding but have not implemented yet. 25% a basic understanding of ISO 19650, and then 13% are new to ISO 19650. We do not have any current assessors. Mostly are BIM/information management consultants or BIM/information managers, and the rest are a sprinkling of project management. We have some appointing parties, some architects, engineers, and contractors. Let us know who you are in the chat. So it's a broad mixture of people that are really interested in getting certified or being an assessor. So that's an amazing turnout. We really appreciate everyone. The call to action for you guys is to connect with the Simply email address.
Hello, it's simply hello@simplycertification.co.uk.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you to the team at Simply. And yeah, we're excited to partner with certification bodies that are really, truly helping our industry to align, to get more efficiency, and to standardize across the world. It will make everything easier in our AEC industry. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye for now.